one rotation per comment, so everybody get a chance to do one comment session. And then please just be courteous in your comments as well. We'll then move to the commissioner deliberation. So this is our time to actually talk back and forth, ask questions, and discuss what we've been looking forward to for quite a while. At the same time, going through a long process that started for about a year now, a little over a year. Doing the research, a lot of work has gone into this. We'll then we'll close the deliberation and move to the vote. And then if it's a passage, we'll talk a little bit about next steps and then it'll adjourn. And then you can see the supporting structure there if we need to in our deliberations, have any expert comments or answer any questions from the experts, we'll do that. So with that said, Chuck, if you could just summarize the ordinance.
Okay, Mr. Trace, just for purposes of the organization, did you want to dispense with the moment of silence and the pledge to the flag and formally calling the meeting to order? That's all listed on the agenda, but I think it's more a formality than anything. I didn't know if you wanted to do that. Or...
That's our fault. We'll dispense with both the pledge and then the moment of silence, and then it is now called. We called the order when I started on the first. So if you just go through the ordinance.
Sure. I think that the commissioners have a copy of the ordinance that's been advertised. The ordinance itself, in my view, is rather straightforward, and I think it's pretty much self-explanatory. The first part of the ordinance, there are 10 recital paragraphs. Those paragraphs tend to recite the background and the history of how we got here and what has transpired over the past many months. Substantively, the ordinance has really 7 substantive sections. Section 1 is the approval of the sale by the township as seller to the purchaser, American Water, PA American. It says that the township finds to be in the best interest to execute an agreement and sell the system. Section 2 authorizes the execution of the asset purchase agreement and other necessary documents associated with the asset purchase agreement. Section 3 authorizes the officers of the township to sign any assignments of existing contracts related to the system itself. Section 4 authorizes the township officers to execute deed certifications or other instruments in connection with the closing. Section 5 provides for the use of the proceeds at the discretion of the board. Obviously, that's going to be a later time. Section 6 requires the township to provide information to and cooperate with the purchaser, PA American. And Section 7 provides a general authorization to proceed with the transaction to allow the process to move forward with the PUC and other necessary processes in order to keep the transaction moving. Sections 8, 9, and 10 are standard sections in an ordinance dealing with severability of sections, repealer of inconsistent or contrary ordinances, and providing for an effective date of the ordinance adoption, which would be tonight if the board chooses to act. And I would just say the ordinance has been advertised, so the board is legally able to adopt the ordinance tonight if it desires to do that.
Thanks, Chuck. Mark, you want to talk anything briefly on the APA? Any comments with that?
Sure. Just to remind everyone, the asset purchase agreement was drafted with the understanding that we needed to have one uniform document, that the two bidders could bid on, so that the bids would be comparable, so that we didn't have apples and oranges. So that asset purchase agreement, which is the key document for the sale and purchase of the sewer system, was negotiated in advance with the two prospective bidders, taking their comments, rejecting some, accepting others. So the almost final agreement was attached to the request for bids and went out so that both bidders had to bid on exactly the same agreement. again, we wanted to have apples and apples. The agreement took into account the fact that there would have to be some minor technical adjustments to it after a winning bidder was selected, technical things involving descriptions of certain assets that were being acquired were excluded. And we have been in the process of making those adjustments. The asset purchase agreement with the schedules attached sets forth what the assets are that are being acquired, what the assets are that are not being acquired. It obviously lays out the purchase price of the system and how that's going to be paid. It includes representations and warranties of both parties with respect from the township's perspective that the system is in good shape and that it functions properly, and from the buyer's perspective that it has the authority and capability of purchasing and acquiring the system. It also includes other issues like indemnification by both parties for losses that may result later on. It talks about how certain costs associated with the transaction are going to be allocated and shared. For example, the submission to the Public Utility Commission that would be required does have some initial upfront engineering costs, and it lays out how those costs are going to be shared, and also sets forth some of the things that the township must do, such as transferring easements, obtaining all the easements and transferring those to the purchaser. So again, it's a 52-page document. It goes into a great deal of detail, a lot of legal language, but that's where we ended up, and that's the agreement that was the subject of the request for bids. That pretty much summarizes it, Trace.
Thanks very much, Mark. Given the outline of the ordinance, I'll need a motion to move on the ordinance.
I will make that motion. I make a motion to adopt the ordinance authorizing the execution of the asset purchase agreement, or APA, with PA American Water for the sale and transfer of a Pottsgrove sanitary sewer system, and further authorizing the township officials to take all the actions incidental to effectuate the transaction.
Thank you, Renee. I need a second.
I'll second the ordinance.
Hearing a second. Right now, we'll move to public comments.
Question on the ordinance first.
What's that?
The selling amount is?
The selling price,
Yes.
Yes.
$13,750,000.
Okay. And that's that's without the freeze, correct? In
That's
the rate?
about a 2-year freeze, but we essentially have a freeze just by virtue of the,
But technically it's without a freeze, correct?
excuse me?
Technically it's without a freeze.
Right, there's no
Okay,
provision
no freeze. Thank you.
for a freeze.
Okay.
So going to public comments. So if you want to put your hand up, Michelle will recognize you.
I'll do my best. Let's see here. All right, I'm gonna start scrolling and see if there's any. Oh, come on.
Here's
All
one.
right, so we got it.
Gerald Tillman, Michelle.
Daryl Tillman, can you hear me? Daryl,
Yeah,
you have
can you guys hear me?
questions? You have comments?
Yeah. As you see, I'm in my scrubs right now, pulling myself away from work to be at this meeting, and it makes no sense that we are doing this on a Zoom meeting. I mean, we're in a pandemic, and there was a late notification, and then as I listened to the comments on, I think it was Thursday night, it became very clear to me that 4 of the 5 commissioners were not as abreast to the issues as the township solicitor, as the paid solicitor, consultant, and the person from PA Water. There were questions addressed to the commission for the commissioners, and every single one of those were deflected to somebody who's getting paid to be at this meeting. And to me, it doesn't make any sense. I understand that there's good points, there's bad points to this. I think resident Al Leach put a very nice synopsis of this, that if you're going to live in the township for just a short-term period of time, this actually works out very well for you. And if you need to tap into the system, this also works out very well for you. But for those who have been here for a long time and don't, or planning to live here a long time, this may not be so good for you in the long run. That being said, for the best interest of the township, if it needs to happen, that's fine. But with a bid that's open till June 30th, given the fact that right now I pulled myself away from 104 patients, probably a third to half of them have COVID, and that I'm sitting here, I had to pull myself away from work just to be a part of this, instead of this being under normal order when the country is open, makes no sense to me. And that's my comment, and I'll shut up now.
Thank you, Daryl. All right, looks like we have Stephanie.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm encouraged with Governor Wolf's decision to start easing Pennsylvania back from the scenario we've been living in for the past several weeks. I am imploring you all to take the opportunity to table the vote until the May 20th meeting. This is beneficial in several ways. The first being it allows all residents to be able to digest and question this decision that seems to be on a fast track for a reason that has not been satisfied by any of the presentations that you allowed to happen with little or no response from the board. Almost every question was deferred to either PFM or PA American Water. While I understand some of the questions could be answered by others, you as the board have a responsibility to represent the township communal interests, past, present, and future. By not allowing comments or discussion to happen and even have questions ignored, disenfranchises the few residents that were able to find out about these Zoom meetings, which you cut off the chat feature, ensuring that people would not be able to comment or ask questions unless you allowed it. The chat feature is being used in classroom settings at the elementary level, so I believe the residents could be trusted to use that feature. Speaking of Zoom meetings as a platform, which if a resident is not on Facebook, and during this time of the pandemic, where someone might be deemed essential and working more than ever, or laid off or furloughed and worried about paying their bills and feeding their family, they might not think they should check your website. The letter that came on Good Friday arrived after 2 of the meetings had already happened. It's absurd to think that is an adequate way to notify residents. There's ample time for the vote to be pushed to the meeting in May. As stated on your website, the commissioner is called upon to perform as a problem solver, acting as an agent for township citizens with municipal or even outside agencies. Thank you, and I hope you do the right thing representing the residents by giving the time so that people can review, understand, and give their opinion on this matter. In order for this to happen, the vote must be delayed. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, so we have, Al Leach.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
I could go into a whole speech and such like that on why we probably should table it. And obviously Stephanie just did a very, very elegant job and such like that. The only thing I can ask for the commissioners is that you do understand that obviously there is a large portion of the community that is going to be affected by this decision. You guys have done a lot. I'm not going to say you haven't done your due diligence. I'm sure you have over the last year and such like that. But there are a lot of residents, as been stated in multiple meetings, that are obviously looking to see if they can get more involved in finding out. Since I came to Upper Potts Grove and stuff back in 2000, that's how we did things. We're a small community, and that's the one thing that was fantastic about being a small community is we all work together. All the commissioners have always worked with the community. It's not a community of 5 individuals, it's a community of over 3,600. I understand you're going to have a lot of different discussions after tonight. I understand that it's possible that you're going to have discussions on how to spend the money and such, right? I implore you to at least consider the idea of tabling this just so at least you can get those questions answered. I mean, you have questions as simple as, PAW is charging everybody else in their entire realm of customers $719, yet we're going to be charged $780. Never answered as into why we're charging more. It's never been answered as into, are we always going to be on a different pay structure than others? It obviously hasn't been discussed yet on the open spaces. It hasn't been discussed yet on what you're going to do with the funds or anything like that. It's so easy to delay this vote with a table just so you guys can get all your ducks in a row and every question answered, and use the transparency we've always used in this community to make sure that everybody feels that this is the best interest for the community. That's all I can ask for you guys tonight. You guys do the best you think is right.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Well, hopefully, let's make sure he's unmute, or he is muted. Okay, so then we have,
Heath.
yeah, but why can't I unmute him? It only gives me the option to lower his hand.
Doesn't look like he's connected via audio. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. So that is a problem. That's the only other hand I see up at this time. I don't know how to recognize him to allow him to, oh wait, that gave me the option. Now it just went away. I could have merged him with.
Come back in. He's trying to come back in, Michelle. So let's see if this works.
Yes.
I just admitted him.
Okay.
See if his audio pops up here.
There he is. Nope, that's a different one. Doug Kern.
There he is. Let's see. Merge with audio. Let's see what happens. Wow. I don't know what his number is. Oh, wait. Yes, I do. Here it is. Hold on one second. Let me see if that works. That worked. Now I have to unmute him. Let me find him again. I have Keith Plumadori. I don't know if that's how you say your name.
Yes. Thanks, Michelle. Am I off mute?
Yes, you're off mute. We can hear you now.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Keith Plumador, 179 Hanover Drive. I want to thank the commissioners for the opportunity to make a statement tonight, and I appreciate the level of effort and amount of work that's gone into the presentations and the thoroughness of what's been discussed. I feel like the sale of the town's sewer system will do nothing to resolve the township's financial outlook, an outlook which is described by the commissioners themselves as grave. That's their word, not mine, though I agree with them. The lottery-esque infusion of over $13.5 million is, in my estimation, a temporary reprieve to what are the symptoms and outcomes of amateur fiscal governance that put the town's finances into this grave state in the first place. I've attended the Q&A session on the 14th. I've studied the presentation slide deck and the Q&A that's posted at the township's Sunsecure website. And I believe the township has executed with due diligence and done a good job with both the RFP and the overall solicitation process. That said, there's no evidence by example or data that shows how the town will execute improved fiscal governance that will keep us from returning to the current grave financial condition in the very near future. I'm not opposed to the sale of the sewer system. However, I wish it were being done under the purview of an Act 47 auditor to ensure that corrective consequences of the infusion of this money will be long-lasting and motivate the town to live within its means in perpetuity. I thank the commissioners again for the opportunity to make a statement.
Thank you. Let's see if I can add him. Okay, as soon as I figure, okay, there he is. I just want to make sure I mute him back. Okay. And I have Doug Kern. Do I have Doug Kern?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for your time to allow me to make a statement. I've been able to participate in, I believe, 2 of the 4 sessions, and I appreciate the opportunity. As someone who has a beyond full-time job right now with the situation going on across the country, and does not have Facebook. I was late to find out about these types of meetings. That being said, from what I can understand, I believe the Board of Commissioners has done a good job over the last year of working towards making an action here. I would ask that this motion be voted down because I don't feel that it's in the best interest of the township for a number of reasons. One being that we don't have access to the wealth of paperwork that we normally would have. Granted, less than 10%, less than 5% of the taxpayers would probably ask for this kind of information. Most of us don't go to the standard meetings, but this is a big issue. We don't have the ability to look at what's gone on besides a few slides on 4 separate occasions, which have changed almost every time, and the take my word for it types of comments that we've gotten from the board when we ask these kinds of questions. Furthermore, there's really no reason to move on this right now because it sounds like there's a 90-day window to make a decision before the bid is no longer valid. So taking the first opportunity a month in when you have 3 months to do so just doesn't seem like the best course of action. Finally, I think it may make sense to sell, but there's no way to find this information out, to double check, to do any sort of fact checking from our point of view. We're taking your word for it, and it's just something with something of this magnitude, $13.7 million. I've heard zero on the $4 million for the township, the buildings. Give me some details on what you're going to do. Why 4 million? Why not 2? Why not 1? There's a multitude of questions. I thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I just hope you vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Hold on, I'm trying. Okay, Dustin?
Michelle, just make sure we get the address, name and address, the full name and address, please.
Yes.
Full name?
Name and address, yes, please.
Name and address, Justin Robert Schreiber, 138 Rose Valley Road. So I did a little bit of digging into American Water, which is the parent company of PA Water. American Water is actually owned by a German conglomerate known as REWAG. So my question is, are we then going to be sending whatever profits that we make for the company overseas? I know that this is not question time and this is statement time, but I think that I would prefer that we support an American business, but that's my opinion, if we decide to sell at all, which again, I'm not convinced that we should. Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. It doesn't look like anybody else has their hand up. Oh, yeah, we do. Hold on one second. Don Reed?
Yes, thank you. I did have some comments, but I think they have changed over the last few minutes from what I've heard. First of all, I am in favor of moving forward with the sale, providing the terms and conditions are acceptable to our commissioners. The number one reason I would like to sell is there is a significant amount of risk owning the system. Basically, our township the rates are based on a kind of a reactive, we're reactive to issues. When things happen, we go out and borrow the money and then we pay it back over time. I think in one of the slides, I can't quite pull it up, there's a lot of risk, there's capital risk with the Pottstown Borough Authority. And I think I don't think people quite understand how much that could affect our rates. And I'm not going to get into detail about that, but there is a lot of risk in this. And I think the commissioners have made a great move trying to mitigate that risk. Now, I've known about this sale for maybe about a year. The commissioners voted to go out and try to figure out what the system was worth. We went out for bids. Nobody seemed to be opposed to that. All of a sudden, we're on the doorstep. We have a buyer that came in on the high side of our estimates, if I'm understanding the numbers correctly. All of a sudden, we want to delay another month. What's another month going to do? There's no meeting scheduled. 30 days is what questions do you need answered right now? I mean, I would like to ask one question to anybody: why not sell it? I mean, that's the reason. I think the rates are going to probably be going up if we have to address all these issues. And it's kind of frustrating to watch this, and people just come in at the last hour and say, "Listen, we need to delay." So that's the end of my statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Okay, let me check here. Okay, we don't have any other hands up, Trace, that I can see. So I don't know if let's see how many people we have on a phone. It looks like we have 1, 2, 3 on a phone. I don't know if you want to go to the people on the phone for.
Yeah, try and see if you can just, if folks, if you're listening, you're telephonically coming in, just understand when we unmute you, if you don't hear it, we can hear your conversation. So we're going to try to unmute you and see if you'd like to make a comment.
Okay, so I have a phone number 215-370-5512. Do you have any comments? Hello?
Go ahead and mute.
Okay, I gotta find them back. Hold on. Okay, so no comments on that one. Hold on one second. Let me go back down here. Sorry, I'm trying to write the number down because it goes in a different spot once I hit it. Okay. I have a phone number 717-383-8740. Do you have any comments?
No comments.
No comments, okay. Just bear with me. I'm gotta go back up to the top and find them to mute them back. Okay. And last I have, I think this is Sherry. Sherry, do you have any comments?
Yes.
Okay.
I understand why they want to sell it. It's beneficial. They could take the money and fix what needs to be fixed, like Pine Ford Road, which is an absolute mess. And the maintenance department, the police department, the fire company, and the administration office. I understand all that. But right now, I would really prefer this to be a live public meeting, where we could all sit in the audience and, see the slides and meet the people that are from the, what's the name of the place that wants to buy this again?
PA American Water.
Yeah, them. I don't know who these gentlemen are. It would just be nice for it to be in a public meeting. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. All right, so I have,
That all the residents?
That's all the residents, yes.
You get 2485, Michelle.
Oh, yeah, that's Evan from the Mercury.
How about 8740?
I asked them, they had no comments.
Okay, we will now turn to the deliberation piece for the commissioners. So that'll be kind of a cross-talking thing we had. I'll just want to start off a little bit from my perspective. I think PFN and our attorneys and everybody's put some time to this, the modeling stuff, John Beeler, and also several of the folks on the PFM team that help with some of the modeling that we put into this. As I kind of looked at some of the comments, I want to ask if Martin, you can. What I've seen a lot of the arguments. One of those happens to be that you put forward was on the backs of the sewer customers. Can you talk about that and what you mean by that?
Well, only the sewer customers are paid into the sewer.
So the capital improvements that have been done in the sewer is all sewer customers. If they were stockholders, they would be getting a bonus check for selling it for so high.
So what are you basing ownership of the sewer system on?
Well, everybody put in an EDU, paid the tap-in fee.
That's not ownership.
I didn't say it was ownership. I just feel that add to that point of the sewer customers I feel are getting the short end of the scoop here is also that it's the $65 a month thing where the current rate is $59.94. So why aren't we going to that? I think we're selling out the sewer.
We're backing up to, you described the customers on the back of the customer. We hadn't established any ownership. We don't, when someone leaves here, they don't take 300 shares and go off somewhere.
Correct.
Can you compare and contrast a little bit? How does that differentiate between folks that pay school taxes? They don't have children in school, and they're still paying for it. Can you tell me why the difference? Should we have something out there that addresses that?
Everybody has a chance to send a child to school at our public schools if they have a child that lives in the township.
Well, I was asking about the folks that don't have any children and never had any children.
It could be considered unfair, yes.
So the same thing with our open space. So our open space right now, folks pay earned income tax, which goes to buy our open space and also contributes to all our trail networks. If someone's retired, should we put signs up that say they can't go on the trail? How do we differentiate between that?
I'm not really sure. I know that we taxed ourselves for that. And if somebody chooses to levy a tax against themselves, they knew what was happening when they did that.
So you're saying that the tax piece does not apply in those two cases? Is that what you're saying?
I don't even know what you're talking about there.
Well, I'm trying to compare these things. Your argument was on the backs of the sewer customers, and it seems to me that's kind of it's not genuine to sit there and separate our residents. You're either a septic resident or you're a sewer customer. I don't think that's the right way to go on the backs of the sewer customers. Can you? I really like to hear your argument on why that's a major item and why we separate the township residents that way. I mean, the same thing with, we don't elect commissioners that are septic commissioners or sewer commissioners.
No, we don't. We don't elect commissioners from certain wards as they do in the borough either. So each person gets, a say in a certain area. We don't do that either, but maybe that would work better.
You're saying that we should have commissioners that are elected by sewer and customers?
I did not say that. I said that in certain areas.
I mean, you're a fact, yeah, it's just a ward and stuff. But Martin, that's what you based your argument on.
Because eventually the sewer rates could possibly go down.
If we start actually going through the 7 reasons we've been talking through this whole time period, and we start with the debt one, and you see that, can you Ben, can you put the slide that talks about the 7 reasons, the first one? Take that one down, because we have a debt of outstanding $8,431,029. That's the total debt we have outstanding. And Martin, you've advocated building a complete complex.
Yes, I did.
And also, you've also said you were appalled in December of the conditions of our buildings. If we didn't sell this, what was your means of providing for we talk a little bit about the buildings. Right now, as you know, Al05 did some estimates on there. And one of those was
18 months we've had that.
3.5 to 4.5 million. How are you going to finance that?
Well, the reason why I voted against the budget is because there's $120,000 in it to repair the buildings that we've never talked about if we're repairing or building new.
You're dragging a red herring, Martin. I'm asking how are you going to finance fixing those 2 buildings? $4 million. What you're talking about is a budget item.
Correct, because $120,000 would pay for almost about half of that payment, as PFM said, $280,000.
So again, how are you going to finance if you go for a complex that's even bigger? Are you you're proposing we finance all that and put it on top of the debt we have right now?
Correct.
Okay,
everybody would be paying a little bit more. Yes.
Okay, so instead of wiping out the debt, you'd rather go ahead and borrow more on top of that, as I understand that. Is that correct?
Because right now, certain categories are paid by certain things. The sewer fund is basically self-sustaining through the sewer customers. And yes, it could hurt the sewer customers if a major thing happened like Don Reed was talking about, or Mr. Reed.
Self-sustaining, we hadn't even started talking about the risks yet.
So that's
so
the
you're,
only reason I could see by selling it is the risk.
and that's just, so you want to maintain all the debt, and then we talked about it, and I think we had the slide up there, it shows it all, the 8 plus and we add the 4 million, which is probably on the low end, because that's not even without real estate, that's without real estate of fixing those 2 buildings. So as that goes up, and we talk a little bit about the unfunded.
So shouldn't we know how much that is going to cost us?
Do you think we should not do anything with the unfunded pension liability? Right now, it's 1.7 million.
Actually, I'm surprised that it's only 1.7 million after the stock market tanked.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's going to be a lot bigger than that. So, I mean,
I don't even think we're going to have $4 million to pay for the building.
What?
I don't think we're going to have $4 million left over for paying for the building.
Okay, so right now, you said you were going to finance the 4 if we kept the system, and then what I'm talking about now is a 1.7 million for the pension liability, which is a completely different discussion to have. Did you just want to leave it like it is and do nothing to try to fix that?
Aren't we putting into it every year to make up that difference?
But it's behind. That's why it's a liability, Martin. That's why it's
Correct. But every
1.7.
year we're putting more and more in.
But the amortization's not catching up. That's why it keeps going down each year. How come you didn't, when you saw that, when did you not see that before?
No, I didn't. I just saw that when you became the president of the board.
Well, I mean, have
That's what I've always
you read
thought.
have you read the audit? Every year the audit comes out. It's
Yes,
one of the
but
best documents to read.
The MMO, we always put in what the MMO says that we're supposed to put in. So.
But when the MMO is failing, you're supposed to read the audit and you see what the debt is.
And we did adjust it a couple of years ago.
Here's just a couple of items right now.
A couple of years ago, we added a bigger amount.
So just do the comparison. West Pottsgrove, 103% funded. Douglas Berks, 139. Douglas Montgomery, 93. New Hanover, good job, Chuck, 105. Lowers, 83. Pottstown, 77. We're 74, and that's 2018. And then right now, as you have indicated, and this is before the stock market went down, we're close to 70. And folks, when we cross over to 70, the state gets involved. And we've been talking about all these issues starting in 2018.
This was such a big point. Why didn't we act quicker when we did the RFP for a pension provider?
Martin, you've been here longer than anybody else. You've been here longer than you've been here.
I asked how many times about the RFP for the pension provider.
You didn't act on anything.
We waited on it and waited on it.
You did not act on anything. You didn't act on anything. And each one of these things, you start totaling up those numbers, and we're getting closer to $16 million of all this stuff. Other commissioners, please join in if you'd like. You can see how bad we did. It's just embarrassing that we're at 70%. All the folks around us were not. We have people who are going to start retiring, and they're not going to have any money if we don't start fixing this stuff and looking into the future. Martin, are you in favor of having a 4-year plan, or you still want to go just with one year to 1 year to 1 year?
I'm okay with a longer-term plan.
Well, why didn't you propose that a lot earlier than what you're talking about now? Why not when you first got in office? How come you guys stayed on a 1 to 1 year plan?
We did look in certain areas.
Well, you have to act. That's what we're doing now. We're acting.
Well, we planned for a fire truck that you voted down, and now we're down to 1 fire truck.
What has a fire truck got to do with this major issues that we're talking about right now?
Talk about a major issue when somebody dies at a fire because the truck doesn't get there in time. Talk about that, Trace. Talk about that a little bit.
And you're not going through the analysis of this stuff. All the questions were open, folks. All the commissioners had a one-on-one with PFM.
I never had
several different times and asked all kinds of questions. Questions were asked up and down through the time. And we had some new commissioners spend a lot of time asking all kinds of questions. And when you come on here and act like this is the first time anybody's asked any question, that's disingenuous.
I never had a one-on-one.
As we continue
Martin, the
on with this stuff,
one-on-one was when we all sat at the table with PFM and a representative.
At a township meeting?
Actually, American Water,
It was executive session.
Oh.
Yes, it was. the-
executive session.
I have a statement. Can I read?
Yeah, go ahead. Right now, we're on the,
Yeah, I'm just gonna make a
we're starting
statement.
with-
Because this is,
Go ahead.
I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who's called, texted, emailed positive thoughts on this really, really important decision. I felt comfortable answering your questions, and I hope I could be a help to you. I also want to thank the Board of Commissioners for their due diligence, which was over a year on this matter. And of course, I want to thank PFM, Chuck, Special Counsel, Chris Pelka, John Baylor, PA American Water. They've answered all my questions. This was a long process, and we all took important facts into account. These next statements I made at a meeting that physically could be attended. This has been a long, ongoing thing. When we had physical meetings, I made these statements. I agree with the sale of sewer. We are not a sewer authority. We are a governmental entity. The reason the quarterly fees had gone up was because of the risk factors that do occur. We have a road crew, not a sewer crew. And the best we can do is put Band-Aids on the failures. There have been many times Justin is not at a meeting because a failure occurred at a pumping station. I believe the PA American Water did say that employees of their business do live in the township, so call times for sewer issues would be quicker than they have been. These folks do this for a living. We do not, and I'm more comfortable with that. Our township will continue to be overseen by the DEP and EPA, so regardless of whether we sell or not sell, they're still there, and there will be issues. I've seen this for at least 28 years. Furthermore, I believe the PUC should be involved with the continual growth of our sewer system, which will be growing. I know the 537 plan is a continual plan. So once those projects are done, we're going to have to move on to others. This decision was not taken lightly like everybody seems to think. All commissioners have been involved, all of us. There's no hidden agenda, just that we are looking out for our community. There's nothing personal here. I'm not gaining anything personal. I've lived here for 60 plus years. I care about my community that I live in. We are doing the right thing, and I want the best for the people that live here. And that's all I have to say.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Renee. Dave, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I ran for commissioner last year based on our finances. People are very unhappy. I continue to talk to people that want a balanced budget. They want to know where all the money is. And why are we in the condition we're in now? Because we like to spend money, and now we have to pay for it. And I just want to thank everybody. We put a lot of time and effort into this, and there's a lot of good people out there on both sides of the fence. And I just want to say thank you.
Okay. I'm up. Okay, thank you. Of course, I want to thank everybody who's been involved, and it's great to see that many people participating. We don't get this much involvement at any meetings, and I know people are concerned that we're doing this by Zoom, and it'd be nice if we could all be together. Yes, it would, but I don't know when that's going to happen. And we have to keep working. The one thing that can't stop, among some other essential businesses, is your government. Dave and I were put in the position of having to study this and get acquainted with it while we were running. And when everything was presented to me, I could see the problems of why we should consider the sale of the sewer for financial relief. But tonight, we're just voting on what are we or are we not going to sell it. I personally don't believe we have any business running a sewer business, and we don't. We have 4 public workers who have to divide their time, as Renee mentioned, among roads, among the open space, and then the sewer and the other jobs that they have to do. That's a lot, and the sewer always has to come first. That is an important issue in our lives. I spent my time talking to the people that work on these, the sewer committee, and also the public works, and a few other people that I know have been in this township for a long time. And their opinion is that To think that we can keep this sewer system and keep running it with no increased costs is just not a reasonable expectation. I truly feel that if we keep it, our taxes will rise higher than they would normally have if we don't own it, and also our sewer rates will rise higher. There is certain things that we just don't have the capability to do because we don't own all the equipment needed. We only have 2 of our public works people that are certified in sewer. You don't just get a job working on the sewer. You have to be certified. American Water has all their people have skills to do this. They have the techniques, they have the equipment. It just makes so much sense. We're putting ourselves ahead for the future. That is why we moved from a 1-year budget to a 4-year budget. And maybe we'll even, as this works out, it'll go further. And you have to understand, if we're creating budgets for 21, 22, and 23, we need to know what we're doing with all these numbers here. It puts us at a big disadvantage. I did a lot of talking with some people, exchanging emails, phone calls, and etc. I just believe that we do have an aging system. I don't believe it, I know it. I know there's going to be more issues that will pop up. I do know that the Pottstown Borough Authority and the DEP right now is asking that our wastewater contributors significantly reduce their clear water and infiltration. That's a lot to swallow there. I spent a lot of time trying to understand what I&I is. And what it is your groundwater and other water seeping into pipes that are leaking, cracked, etc. We do get charged if we do have too much inflow and infiltration into the Pottstown sewer system. So there's a cost. You can't plan for that. There's too much risk out there that makes me feel uncomfortable as a sewer user in this township, and has been for 23 years, that this gives us some breathing room to start new.
Thanks, Kathy.
That's right.
Hey, Ben, can you put up the decision matrix, please? There you go. Martin, you have more comments?
Yeah, so we had 4 meetings for this. 1 over Passover, 1 over a school board meeting, and 2 after the letter came. Recording of the meetings were supposed to be placed on the website. That was not happening. No agenda for the meeting that advertised for the ordinance, although we advertised for the meeting. On the website tonight even, it still has the meeting as April 16th and not tonight for the Zoom link. And Zoom meetings for folks that are uncomfortable, and we have 10% of the community 65 and older. So I would ask that we table this. So I'll make a motion to table this until the June 15th meeting.
Hearing a motion to table, do I hear a second? Hearing no second, that issue dies. Any more comments?
Trace, can I just say that the agenda is posted on the website for tonight's meeting?
Posted. However, if you go to the website, the first thing you see is the April 16th link for the meeting and not tonight's meeting.
Martin,
I
why didn't you
disagree
point
with
this
that.
out to Michelle before?
Yeah, why didn't you tell me that as soon as you saw it? Like, you know,
That's what I would have done.
You're
throwing our township manager under the bus. I just wish you would have told her instead of bringing it up.
I saw it just now when I logged on. It's 6:58 or 6:45, something like that. That's when I noticed it.
I'm trying to look at that because I know I double checked that to make sure that I had the correct dates in there.
So
and Martin, that's the kind of analysis you've done since my 2 years here. It's not the issue at fact; it's the finance we're trying to fix right now. And you go down in this rabbit hole instead of thinking about these 7 major items and trying to dislodge what we're talking about. If you take a look at the decision matrix and you measure both those things side by side, it clearly indicates what's the best choice for us to go forward. And I think you also see, particularly what's going to be helpful is the capital that's going to be going into the 3 projects we have coming up. And our residents won't have to pay the $5,447,000 to connect it. And that's what's really beneficial to this with all the capital items that are on here.
So when I made a motion to have 2 public meetings, you voted no. You don't think transparency is important in government?
We get you
You're not talking about the issues again. And what I said in that particular vote, Martin, was that let's see what PFM says and set it up when it's time to go. We had 4. We did 2 practice with Zoom plus this year. And again, if you want to make some cases on those 7 items, and why you just said you were going to borrow $4 million to build the buildings, to fix the buildings. Down on number 8, you see that just to get at those prices, 900, 920, 940, we had to borrow another $3 million on top of that, plus trying to fix the unfunded pension piece. It's just glaring to see where we're at and the status we are, and we are in a bad financial situation. You know, you passed when we passed the budget. You saw it right now from expenses to revenues. We're running around below 300,000 for each, above 300,000 above each one of those things. For a balanced budget for those years, and it's going to catch up with us. We had to fix this stuff, and then we had to do a 4-year plan, and we have to monitor how we're going and making sure that expenses and revenues are justifiable when we do those things. Dave, did you have any more things to say?
Yeah, we've been putting in an enormous amount of hours here for this sale and also for our budget. And I got to be quite honest with you, Martin. I never talk to you. I never see you. I don't see you participating.
I've never been asked to participate in anything.
Yes, you were. I called you personally. Yes,
When?
you certainly were. I called you personally, Martin.
I've spoken to you a couple times. The reason why I asked to table this is because I think the transparency part is very important.
What are we not being transparent about?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very difficult. Zoom meetings for everybody is not the way to do things. So,
Actually, I've had several people tell me they love the Zoom meetings because they get home from work late and they can't come to a meeting, and they wished we would do this continually. So, no matter what we do, we're not going to please everyone. And that's the hard part of being a commissioner. We have to base our decisions on facts. Feelings, that's tough. I understand some people's feelings out there, how they feel about this, and their uncertainty, and sometimes I feel a panic coming from everyone. And I don't know why, because I don't think our lives are going to be that interrupted when we switch over to American Water. But I just don't understand the transparency part.
Martin,
It just boggles my mind.
Martin, you were privy to all the information we all got. We all got the same information. There's no hidden agendas, no sneaky anything. You knew the information.
and as things came up, more and more questions came up. A lot of times when I asked questions, we were going to decide later on, or it depended. We didn't know. I got a lot of that.
What kind of question?
Martin, how many times did you email PFM and ask questions? Most people can go, we have folks who just do their own research, they contact folks and ask the questions. You're trying to leave this at 11th hour to give some kind of impression that you did some research. That's not the case.
Okay, whatever. So is this the right deal for the township? I don't know, but the hard sell type thing that PFM's trying to do, and I just don't think it's right. I'm not convinced that selling the sewer is not the right thing to do. I just think this way of doing it is incorrect.
Well, you've told some people that you're on the fence. You tell other folks that you're against it. And let me talk a little bit about PFM and our special counsel that we've had. When me and John Beeler started this piece and started talking to folks, we asked that there was no money would come out of the pocket of the township. They've taken all the risks to wait. If this passes, if it doesn't, nothing's coming about it. I mean, to the point where even the $7,500 upfront for phase one, they deferred that piece. They have been very good with us on working to make sure we're not a rich township. We wanted to see what the advantages of going for this. There would be a place you can see clearly that we got a very good price for this. And they bent over backwards. I asked them to do a recommendation, and PFM said, no, we don't do recommendations. We'll give you the figures and you guys make the decision. And trying to throw stones at them is also disingenuous.
They did a great job.
Hey, Trace, I just want to add to that. I do want to be very clear to the public that PFM did not make a recommendation, like you said, and PFM is not trying to sell this. PFM conducted a process and presented the facts and the information for the board to make a decision. So I do want to be very clear that we did not, will not, and have not made a recommendation on this.
Thank you.
So the slides that came up came from you though, from PFM?
Township staff worked with PFM
Yep.
to put together the slide presentation.
Okay.
Township staff and board officers, let me
So I too don't believe that PFM had a conflict of interest as some people led to believe. Because I understood that they weren't getting paid up front and they've been doing this with other townships. So I had no problem with them. I think that's false.
Martin, you're still not making that argument about the sewer. You're just throwing all kinds of stuff and seeing anything could stick that has nothing to do with what we're seeing right in front of us, a decision matrix. What you indicated, why do you want to run a sewer company?
I'm not sure I really do.
Well, now you're flipping again. So which is it? You had a year to think about this stuff.
Trace, this is
Martin?
not the way to do it. That's what my problem is this selling it on Zoom is not the way to do it.
No, that's one opinion.
So
You
want
can look for some technical reason.
And I
the thing stated with the agenda. You're not making any arguments with the sale. You're looking for some sidestep. You haven't made an argument for why you want to run a sewer company.
So am I going to get to finish my comments now?
I never stopped you, Martin.
Really? Okay. So my guess is that PFM is going to be taking care of all the pump stations and mowing and all that stuff. Local cares versus the bottom line. I think that a public traded company as PFM or as PA American Water, they may not put in as hard work. Maybe not hard work is the right answer or statement, but do they have a vested interest in Upper Pottsgrove? I'm not sure. On November 27th, 2018, they added 240 feet of line in Scranton for $240,000. That's $1,000 a foot, not the $100 to $150 a foot. I don't know if the size of the pipe matters that much. That was a 15-inch pipe. So that kind of
That's a big pipe.
yeah. I don't know what our usual ones are in the street, if they're 8-inch or smaller even. The D- rating from the Better Business Bureau, and I know that they explained it, it's still bothersome to me. The 537 plan in our schedule that was handed to us at 4.17 has expected dates and not actual dates. I'm not sure if that's a problem or not. I'm concerned that our paperwork isn't done properly. I know that we said that we would protect those people that were part of the 537 plan.
537, Martin, don't you, I mean, when you make these comments, the 537 plan has been out there since what, 2008, before a lot of us have been involved. Why didn't you make those comments then? You just continue to make comments like you had nothing to do with anything.
We spoke at one of these meetings, and PA American Water said that they would have to add those dates in. They're in a schedule, but it just says expected dates. So I don't know if they need to be finalized or not.
And even in that comment, American Water said that they would try to accelerate what we have for those 3 different projects, which is really nice.
We're putting a date on are 2 different things.
Did we put a date on our old 537 plan?
We're almost 10 years behind from when it was approved.
So right now, the township building, police department, fire department, and public works, we don't pay a sewer bill. We just add. So I'm sure we're going to be getting bills for that. I don't know if there's prepayment penalties I thought of the other night.
What?
That slide that's opening up all that money for us, 250,000 was from open space. If we sell the sewer fund, open space money is not going to come in like that. And we usually do a customary transfer, as we all know, from the sewer fund to the general fund, which probably pays for one of the public works guys, of $120,000. So with that, I'm kind of a little concerned about if this is actually the right sale financially. In some of the closing documents, there's a Pottstown Corrective Action Plan cost. I'm not really sure what it is. I read all the documents late Saturday night into Sunday morning. So those are some of my issues. The grants have started to come back. Is it the right thing to hold on and run the sewer system? I'm still not sure. I'm not sure I know it's not the right thing to sell it tonight here this way. we talk about more users could possibly pay down debt faster. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. The 537 plan right now, even though I don't necessarily agree with it, when somebody needs a grinder pump, we pay for it. That's going to change. And we're going to have to make all sorts of adjustments to ordinances throughout our township for this. According
What does that mean? What does that mean?
We have several ordinances on the book now. One is,
Can you tell me what they are, please?
I think one's listed in section 711 of one of these documents. I guess it's the asset purchase agreement that says that we have to make it so that when they do a project, they're going to have to hook up, which is what we do now. But right now it says township, I believe, and we're going to have to say, the public sewer or something to that effect.
I don't understand the point.
I'm just saying that, have we looked at all those options?
It's a matter of words. He's saying that the
Yeah.
township would be instead of saying PA and American Water.
So, and then there's also some of the lateral fixings and things like that the township would actually bill for. I'm sure that wouldn't happen anymore. I sure hope we're not going to be fixing laterals if, there's I&I in somebody's laterals, PA American Water calls us, if that's how it is. So those other ordinances we have to think about fixing as well if this sells tonight.
Okay.
Other comments?
Well, if I could just comment, I feel like the budget is a very important part of this and how we plan to spend it, but that is another conversation. And today it's just with all the information that we were given, should we or should we not sell the sewer? Now, I'm just stating this for myself. I don't wait to be invited into things as a commissioner. I ask for the information that I need from who I think could give me the best information. If I just feel that as a commissioner, that is probably what I should be doing.
I asked. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. One thing I do want to clear up for maybe some people that they don't understand, the 537 plan, this is mandated by the DEP, and whether we hook up or not, it's going to get done. Can we do it and not increase sewer bills? I don't think so. I think our bills would be much higher than if American Water takes this on. It's just, to me, it's just a very simple way of looking at things. We have debt, we should pay it down. We're a small township. We have an aging population. There are people out there who do not want to see this township be overdeveloped. I agree with it. It's part of the charm of the township. I think we're going to have to develop like crazy if we keep it, to keep up with the sewer. It's just, we're too small. We're too small to have this happen, to keep this sewer. We're just too small of a township to run it. That's my feeling, based on what I've seen.
Other comments?
So I sent Kathy, I sent the township manager questions because I didn't have time to talk
I
because
saw them.
the meeting ended on Tuesday at 2 hours last week. Those questions didn't get answered until Friday evening. So some of my comments here were added on to that.
I'm sorry, Martin, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think Michelle has a lot on her
Oh, no,
plate
I
right
don't
now.
disagree. I don't
We
disagree.
have to give her some slack here.
So
I
when
mean, there's been a lot of other questions too that people wanted answered.
Did you know what other rates were until you got that list?
I've seen them.
You saw the rates at $59.94 a month that other PA American Water users are going to pay?
I will say I haven't seen that. But
Right.
what are the reasons? We already are at a high rate.
Right.
Okay, so everybody comes in at a different starting point.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not gonna, bills only go up, they don't go down. We're at least getting a 2-year breather. I know there's no freeze on it,
Actually,
but it's more of a guarantee.
That bills
Go
only
ahead.
go up. Because actually, in that, since 2014, they had a rate that was at like $62, and the next year it went down. So I'm not really sure why they didn't promote this rate and tell us what the rate
I don't know, Martin. It's every town or township, borough is different. I mean, it's how they have to do their modeling. You know, we are already at 860, okay? We're going down to 780. I mean,
And that was a hard thing for them to decide to do. We asked that. That was the first thing we asked. Can you bring the prices of the quarterly fees down? And they did. They didn't have to.
if we have to raise rates, we're starting already at 860 and going up. At least we give ourselves a little bit of a breather. I mean, I'm a bit thankful for that. We all live here.
Yes, we do. And Renee, I also don't believe that you need to. I know I've gotten emails saying that you shouldn't be voting on this, and I don't have a problem with you voting. I think that's perfectly fine, and you were elected to vote on everything. The thought that you don't have sewer and it shouldn't matter, I think, is absurd for you not to vote on this. Because,
I will be getting sewer. I can guarantee it.
will you?
I will. I know I will. The whole township will be covered with sewer. You know, there is a reason why we have that 537 plan.
Yeah.
Things are happening. I wanted to just say one thing. Michelle, thank you so much for answering all those questions. And Martin, there was a lot.
Oh, I know.
There was more.
Yeah.
She gave it a lot of thought and effort. And I just want to thank her personally for helping us out with this.
Thank you, Renee. And I
Yes,
just want
Michelle, you did
to,
a great job. And I could say behind the scenes too, working with Michelle almost on a daily basis. She's done a fantastic job through this the whole time period since she's been actually appointed to the township manager job. It's just been phenomenal, and well done, Michelle. Well done.
thank you. I just want to point out that the Facebook page is correct.
It is
And the
correct.
website is correct. The link and the password and the meeting ID, or the link and the meeting ID are correct. The only thing that wasn't changed was the date. And I know that that was double checked and triple checked. And I even had Jeannie standing next to me. Now we've had issues with our website recently. And I know there were things posted after that. So I'm not sure if that's why the date got mixed up or not. But even the link on the agenda page is correct. So all the links and all the meeting IDs are correct. It's just the date was not changing. But on Facebook, the dates and everything are correct.
And I just saw that when I logged in, so.
Yeah, and I just want to say too that, you know, Martin, I do try to respond to emails as fast as I can. You know, but I received your email, whether you sent it Tuesday or not, I received it Wednesday. And I attempted to answer all the questions that I could, and I did that. And the additional questions were sent to, you know, PA American Water for their input and to the legal team. So unfortunately, I don't control that. And as I got all the answers to all your questions, they were provided to you in a timely fashion as I received those answers. And I also kept you abreast of that.
Yes, no, and I understand that. And the reason why I just brought that up is because Trace alluded to me coming into the last hour with these questions. But those questions were handed a week ago, and I got them on Friday.
I'm talking about within the whole year, Martin. That's what I'm speaking of, just like others have made the comment. So other comments, we're going to move to a vote then.
Okay.
Grace, are we done with public comment? Because there's a new hand up that was up earlier, like right as you started
No,
asking
we've
for
already
commissioner
moved to the
comments?
commissioner side. So we already moved to the commissioner side. So right now, the action on the table is to vote for the ordinance. We'll do a roll call. So we'll start off. All in favor of the adopting the ordinance? I'll start off with Kathy.
Aye.
Dave.
Yes.
Martin.
Nay.
Renee.
Aye.
Trace. Yes. Ordinance passes 4-1. Appreciate all your work everybody's done on this. What we'll do now is we'll talk a little bit on next steps in the coming days, so we can formulate what the best way to move forward with. Okay, that's all we're going to have tonight. Michelle, anything else?
Nope, I don't have anything else.
Okay, good to go. Thank you, everybody.
I'd like to thank everybody. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Have a good night.
Thank you.